Good morning, good afternoon, or wherever you might be today, and thank you for joining for today's webinar, Leading Practices for Distribution Success. Hopefully you're somewhere you're enjoying St. Patty's Day, and I appreciate you making time for our webinar today. Over the course of the next hour, looking forward to speaking to you about what we're doing at NetSuite here around wholesale distribution. So with that, let me go ahead and dive right in. So why are we all here? Well, hopefully you're here because you want to understand what NetSuite can do for you as a distributor. Today we want to show you that you can achieve transformative results in your business. Huge improvements in gross margin, dramatic reductions in inventory costs, and of course large reductions in IT support. And our focus for this presentation is really how are we going to get you there. Our presenters for today. My name is Ranga Bodla, and I'm the industry lead for wholesale distribution over here at NetSuite. I'm also joined by one of my colleagues, Jess Gadboy, based out of our Denver office and one of our solution consultants for wholesale distribution. And she'll be speaking to you a little bit later as we go through this presentation. So our agenda for today is pretty simple. We're going to talk about today's constant state of change, the challenges that causes for distributors, and how we believe that NetSuite can help put you on the pathway to success to help solve this. Then Jess will dive in and show you a demo about some of the pieces that I talk about in the presentation. We'll, of course, conclude at the end with a question and answer session. So if you do have questions throughout the presentation, feel free to ask those, and we'll answer those at the end during the Q&A session. Your business in the past was probably fairly predictable and stable. Unfortunately, as most of us know, it's no longer the case today. In today's world, the only constant is change. And you have to be agile enough to respond rapidly to the changing market conditions before your competition does. One of the biggest is that new business models are emerging every day. Companies that build products are morphing into delivering those products as a service. Companies that deliver a service are packing those services together to deliver them as a product. Software companies have a complex set of offerings to manage. Professional services, there's a hardware component that adds complexity. Distributors are thinking about how do they go in directly to consumers. Manufacturers are looking how they go direct. In this landscape, agility is a must. If you don't have the ability to adapt, it can mean the difference between competitive differentiation, quality service, timely product offerings, or nimble decision making. And that, of course, can have a major impact on your business. And what we've all seen in the distribution business is that the world is changing quicker than ever before. And to operate successfully in this fast-changing business, your business flexibility is crucial. But also to stay competitive, a global view is required. Now, not everyone has international customers or warehouses or manufacturing facilities, but almost everyone is sourcing raw material from global markets and operating in a global environment from a customer perspective. But with this globalization, you need a strategy that allows you to expand quickly and test your strategy before investing too much. You need to be able to quickly assess and understand the local market conditions and adapt to the global impact that those can have on your business. Again, change is that one constant. And of course, there's new technology that impacts everyone's expectations. Your customers expect to be able to reach to you from their mobile phone, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Your employees are looking to be able to access corporate systems anytime, anywhere, wherever they're at. And who knows what's coming next? The only thing that's certain is that new technology will continue to have a significant impact, and you need to be able to future-proof for what's coming next. And last but not least is employee engagement. As you expand globally and adopt new business model, your workforce becomes increasingly distributed and decentralized. It's no longer the notion of being in one location and be able to have everybody in that one place. And you want to be able to source the best talent for the job from the most cost-effective place, but also not being hampered by the confines of the company firewall. The millennial generation entering the workforce demand easy-to-use systems. They want those that mirror their social tools or online shopping and increasingly blur those lines between work and home life. At the end of the day, putting the right person in the right place with the right tools remains the best way for the company of any size to remain competitive. Now, nobody wants to replace their existing ERP system, but everyone is trying to grow, and everyone needs to change. They'll need to move fast or risk being wiped out by the competition. And as that happens in the distribution industry, you can partner with a vendor like NetSuite to talk about how we can help you think and operate like a startup and take advantage of those global opportunities. Now, unfortunately, this change and all of this constant leads to challenges for the traditional distributor. As many traditional distributors know, the business model itself has not changed much in the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And facing that change is difficult. Now, for most distribution businesses, they become faced with unreliable metrics to run their business. Their inventory is not well utilized. And to meet the challenge of this changing customer experience, they need to be able to expand into multiple channels. Now, every distributor I talk to, they want to evolve. They want to change and meet that change and not just be left behind. They want to be a disruptive force in their industry or space. They want to meet that challenge of the customer experience or want to add e-commerce as a new channel for their customers. What we found, though, is for the most part, is that getting to this disruptive state or adding that customer experience really is contingent upon having that solid foundation. But most people don't think about that solid foundation because of the time and capital they'll think to take to fix it. So we just put in a patch. We're just going to go and bolt on an e-commerce system. But that ultimately doesn't really solve the issue of delivering on better customer experience. So our approach, and this is something we'll talk about as we go through this, is to recognize that this is all tied together. You have to start with the foundation and make sure you have a solid foundation to build on, and then go from there and build up and remodel. And that doesn't mean costly multi-year projects to start moving up the stairway. But here's how it works. The first step, of course, is remediate. And part of our concept here is to make sure you have that single view of your customers, your orders, your items, and your inventory. You can't sell anything if you don't understand where those all fit together. It's about getting on a real-time platform so any channel can consume from that base, first and foremost. So our focus is how do we get that foundation right first, take you from zero to cloud in under 100 days, and then you can start to think about how do we think about commerce and adding these other channels? How do we start to think about optimizing our supply chain? How do we think about how do we optimize our field service? And ultimately, how do we become a disruptive distributor? Now, hopefully, because you're on this webinar, you're already familiar with NetSuite. But I also want to share with you is that we have a proven track record in figuring this out. We are the trusted leader in the cloud applications, and the numbers don't lie. The latest Gartner research calculations show that NetSuite as a vendor is growing market share the fastest globally across the top 10 financial management systems available today. We're actively taking market share away from established vendors such as SAP, Oracle, and Sage, as you can see by their negative growth rates. But we aren't just the proven leader in the cloud. We're also the leaders committed to the wholesale distribution industry. It's what I do and focus on day in and day out. And our track record of success within the distribution industry is a direct result of the large team of NetSuite professionals dedicated to the success of companies like yours. Sure, NetSuite has become quite a large company over the last few years, but we are very much focused on wholesale distribution as a strategic vertical for us. And it goes across all areas of our organization: sales, solution consulting, professional services, product management, and individuals that have experience exclusively working within the distribution space. Our own experience as a rapidly growing company continues to inform our product strategy, and our solutions have purpose-built functionality designed to alleviate the key pain points that distribution organizations experience. And of course, we try to make sure we take all the feedback that we get from our customers, from our 30,000 organizations that run NetSuite, and put that back into the product so that you can benefit and we can share that with you. The combination of dedicated industry experts and a deep industry product set is the reason that NetSuite is the number one choice for modern 21st distribution companies. Now, coming back to that pathway to success, that forklift, the stairway as I like to call it, our approach is how do we get you from zero to cloud in less than 100 days? Our focus is how do we build that foundation first so that we can then evolve your business as it makes sense. So one of the first things that we've done is we've taken all the learnings that we've gotten from working with thousands of distribution customers over 17 years. We've actually been at this for over 17 years now. And we've taken the best of the best, and we've built that into the product so you get that from day one. The second area is we focused on our specific predefined roles, not just to help you get started, but to make sure that you can start being effective from day one. And we've put in metrics and visibility to ensure that you can understand how the business is performing, to make sure that it's not just about quick adoption, but also delivering quick ROI. And the key is that we want to get you through that remediate stage and get you on a solid foundation in less than 100 days, and then you can build on those other elements from it going forward. So one of the biggest things and one of the biggest ways that we do this is through our leading practices approach. And Jess is going to be able to show you more of this when we actually go into the demo portion. When we talk about leading practices, we're talking about taking these learnings that we've gotten from over 17 years and putting that into the product from day one that you're able to adopt. You know what, this is how we think that a distributor should do order management and fulfillment. And one of the things that we'll walk you through, and of course we'll do this, as we talk with you as a prospect. You know, of course, these are probably recognizable business challenges for you, and we'll talk to you about what the NetSuite solution delivers across each of these business processes. But then we'll talk about some of the areas and how NetSuite can help you improve. In this particular example, around back orders and efficiency and time spent shipping to customers. And then, of course, we'll actually walk you through what is the process that exists inside of NetSuite to do this. And one of the things that we'll walk you through is this is how we do it. This is based on understanding from thousands of implementations and from our customers what works and what doesn't work. And, of course, we want to have a conversation with you about how does it work for you. And if this approach doesn't work, we want to understand why. And if it doesn't, then we can, of course, modify it to make sure that it fits your business and make sure that you're not trapped or version locked just because you can't adopt the standard pieces. But those are the things that you're going to see and that are available from day one that you are able to take advantage of. Specific distribution. Now, the second part of this is the dedicated roles. Now, every competitor out there is going to talk about roles. I mean, everyone talks about a role-based system and having roles in the system. What we're talking about here is that all the tools that you need from day one so that your AP analyst can get trained on NetSuite and has their workbench to do their job, their reminders, their KPIs, their dashboards. The same thing with the controller, the same thing with the supply chain manager. So that they, from day one, can start off and adoption gets that much quicker and that much easier. And the other big piece of this is making sure that each role has those dashboards that allow them from day one to start being able to derive value from the system. So they get the KPIs and metrics that are important to them, the key performance indicators and metrics that are important to them, and that are important for them to be able to manage and do their job on a daily basis. So to kind of summarize, and then I'll turn it over to my colleague Jess, really 5 key things why today's distributors are choosing NetSuite. It's been designed for a modern global business. Our platform enables that flexibility, allows that rapid change that you need to be able to meet today's challenges. The unified data model delivers business intelligence across the organization. And commerce is part of our DNA, something that we think about on a daily basis, and that's part of the system, not an afterthought. And we've been built for wholesale distribution. So when we talk about these leading practices, we talk about these roles, it's really all around wholesale distribution, not just some generic system. So with that, I want to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague Jess to walk you through and get a sense of what the system looks like. And then, of course, I'll come back at the end and wrap it up. So with that, Jess?
Perfect. Thank you, Ranga. And can I just get a quick confirmation when you can see NetSuite up on your screen?
All good.
Perfect. So I appreciate the introduction, Ranga, and exactly as Ranga said today, everybody, what we're going to be doing is taking a look at the NetSuite solution from a leading practices perspective. So we'll be taking a look at NetSuite from a bird's eye view today. There is much, much more depth to this solution, but we'll be walking through some of the basic processes, basic roles, and some of the basic dashboards and flows here, so that everyone on the call today can get a look and feel for the system and exactly what our leading processes are capable of. So just as Ranga said a moment ago, here are the 13 predefined roles that come with the leading practices solution. So these are roles that are commonly found in a distribution business, and just as Ranga said, many companies will explain to you that they have roles, but upon software implementation, you have to actually go out and build those roles, customize those roles to meet those different positions. With NetSuite's leading practices solution for wholesale distributors, these roles are all pre-configured, and each role comes with its own purpose-built dashboard. So the dashboard is already complete with the leading industry tools for employees in that role to use to guide them through their day-to-day on the day that you turn NetSuite on within your company. So right now I am logged in as a controller. As I mentioned, we'll take a look at a few of these pre-configured dashboards, and then we'll get into an actual sales order to fulfillment to invoice process within NetSuite. So let's take a look at the controller's dashboard here. The first thing you'll likely notice is that this dashboard is geared around the financial aspects of the business. So we're talking about daily tasks necessary for the accounting team, the AR team, the AP team here. You'll notice that our reminders portlet is giving us information about strategic action items that the controller must complete in real time. So we're getting information about invoices that are overdue, checks to print, bills to pay, and beyond. Important to keep in mind that that is a strategic action item reminder portlet, so everything you're seeing there is being presented to the controller in real time as the daily processes go on. So if a new order comes in that is ready to be billed, that number will go up from 202 to 203 as the day goes on. You'll also notice that we're getting a series of metrics on our home dashboard. And what's important here is that you can very easily get to the reports and the transactions that are behind those grand totals you're seeing on the dashboard. So no need to refer to static spreadsheets or formulas off on the side. We can get directly down to the reports behind these numbers. So for example, we're seeing our sales by this week, this month, this quarter, and this year. If I drill into our sales by this fiscal year to date, we are now seeing the report behind that actual number there. So very easy to get not only into the report, but all the way down into the transaction level detail behind that report, or the customer that is actually influencing that sale. So in this case, we just went from our dashboard sales revenue to the report behind that, and then to a customer that is actually influencing that revenue in real time. You'll also notice that every role that comes pre-configured with the NetSuite Leading Practices solution has their own Suite View tab. And the Suite View tab is grouping together areas of information that is just giving you metrics in one quick view. So this is completely role specific, and these are portlets and metrics that have been used by wholesale distributors in the industry within their actual instances of NetSuite. So we took these and grouped them together so that we could give you that type of visibility in one place. Along those same lines, you'll get a Suite Analytics tab. And what that is doing is really giving one massive view of real-time analytics, ratios, and activity. So as I scroll through this page here, you'll just notice the number of metrics and key performance indicators that we're getting in particular to the controller. So these are metrics that are centered around the controller's day-to-day operations. Now, having this type of visibility across the company to gauge your success and make strategic decisions before problems arise, that's what allows NetSuite customers to control their risk and to maximize on opportunities the day that you go live on our system. This type of information will be available to you as soon as that 100 days of implementation is over. Beyond that, each tab for each role within the user interface is functional. So as we're logged in as the controller, you'll notice that I have an AR tab and an AP tab here. What we're doing is grouping together functional areas. So we're allowing the controller or whoever is using these tabs in their personal role to actually streamline their day-to-day processes. We're putting the action items themselves, like bills that need to be paid or payments that need to be deposited, directly at the controller's fingertips. So we're easing up on the manual work that's typically being done in separate systems and in separate locations by putting it all in one place and customizing it for the controller. Now that we've taken a look at the basic overview of what a role looks like configured with its own dashboard, we'll quickly take a peek at the dashboard of a senior executive, just so we can compare and contrast here. Now, when I'm logged in as a senior executive, we're now getting a high-level view of the entire business. So I'll have access to a series of different departments rather than just the finance department as the controller did. So you'll notice my tabs across the top now are now grouped around things like sales and marketing or HR information. So we're not just talking about the finance department anymore. Same thing goes with the metrics, the key performance indicators that you're seeing. We're now geared around information from a high level, gross profit, other metrics that are useful to a senior executive, but maybe not so much to a controller. Even our Suite View tab, again, is just pre-configured to display to senior executives how customers, costs, and items are affecting our operations in real time. So these are the exact same dashboard portlets that customers of NetSuite, senior executives that use NetSuite, leaders in the distribution industry are using to run their business on a day-to-day basis. Now that I've given the basic overview of the way dashboarding works within NetSuite, I'd like to move into the role of a sales representative, and we can actually start to kick off a process here and walk through the lead to fulfillment to invoice process. So first and foremost, you'll notice that I have a few more tools that are available to me as a sales representative. So an example here would be my key performance indicators are now giving me information specific to me as a sales representative. So my new leads, my personal sales, etc. We're also getting gauges on different meters towards meeting our sales goals, and a few other tools such as phone calls I have to complete today, tasks that I have to complete today, or maybe items in inventory that I have available to sell. So we're giving you some very action-focused portlets here, so your sales reps can whiz through their phone calls, whiz through their tasks for the day, and make sure that they are touching all of the bases and all of the customers and accounts that they need to be touching on that particular day. Now, very quickly before I hop into the sales order process here, I'd just like to bring up a diagram that Ranga gave us a quick introduction to earlier. And this is the NetSuite order to cash process flow. So you'll notice in the top left corner of your screen here that we can start off with lead management. So we can capture your leads from online lead forms or any other lead generating activities so that those leads flow directly into NetSuite and we can follow up immediately. I won't go ahead and walk you through this entire process from a process flow diagram standpoint. However, I will walk you through from a demonstration standpoint. So we'll go from a lead to a quote to a sales order, and then we will go straight through and fulfill that sales order, pick, pack, and ship, and then finally we'll follow up by invoicing on the finance side and taking a look at some reports. So let's do it. Just as I said, we will start this process by following up on a brand new lead. So here on my dashboard of a sales representative, we're getting information about our new leads this month, and we have 11 of those. So let's take a look here. On this report, we're now seeing a lead analysis report. So this is showing us the sources of where all of our different leads came in, the contacts associated, the companies associated, and the time that that was captured. So let's go ahead and choose one of our distribution leads here. And we are now on a lead record for this particular lead, Kingman Distributing. Now, a few things to note here. We have the contact information. So we've captured the contact information of this lead as they submitted it from an online form. So we now have Rose Sullivan's information so we can follow up with her. From a communication standpoint, we can begin to engage Rose immediately. So you'll notice that there is not any communication information here from a historical standpoint because this is a brand new lead. But we will take a look at a customer that has a more colorful history, a very long purchase history with us in just a moment. So let's send Rose a built-in email here. We can use our email templating feature that really just makes this process quick and easy. So with just a few clicks, we can let Rose know that we're thankful for her interest and go ahead and get that sent out to her. In this way, we can make sure that all of our sales representatives are on the same page, looking at a single source of information. So if someone else within the company goes back and has a conversation with Kingman Distributing, then they can see exactly what I said 2 rows from that particular email that I sent, giving you one single source of the truth. So now that we have followed up with a brand new lead, let's take a look at a customer, as I said, that has a more extensive purchase history with NetSuite. And in order to do that, I'll use my global search feature here. We often refer to global search as Google for NetSuite. So if I type in 123, for example, you'll see that I'm now pulling back a series of different transactional records and other records within NetSuite, such as work orders, sales orders, opportunity records, or even cases and payments associated with that 123 series. So we'll pull back anything related to that particular information that we use there, or we can start to filter this. So if I am to use this prefix CU, that will filter to just my customers. And we can go ahead and pull up Smith Supplies, who we know is a great customer of ours. Now we are, of course, on a customer record rather than a lead record because we know that this customer has made many purchases from us. So one thing to note is we have a few more contacts here because of the extensive relationship, as well as from a communication standpoint. Much, much more communication history due to that long-standing relationship with Smith Supplies. What we'd like to do here is just start to engage with this customer by doing something like assigning a task. So from an activities standpoint, I can go ahead and create a new task for myself as a sales representative, as a sales manager for a sales rep, or for anyone else within the company to hold them accountable for activities. So we can use that task management to make sure that everyone is staying on top of their day-to-day. So we can schedule this with a title, go ahead and follow up with Smith Supplies. We can assign it to ourselves, or we can assign it to someone else, as I just mentioned. And then on the date and the time that we schedule this reminder, this person will be sent an automatic reminder to their dashboard on that reminders portlet that we saw earlier, as well as to the email inbox of that recipient. So we can notify them by email as well, just consistently helping us to stay on top of those pressing activities and making sure that everyone is doing the tasks and completing the activities that they are associated to complete that day. Let's create a sales order now. So directly from this sales tab, not only do we have the ability to go ahead and start generating new transactions, but we can see all of those past transactions here. So we are seeing invoices, sales orders, we are seeing payments and quotes. Any historical transaction that this company has made with us, we have visibility into that directly from the customer record. So we can certainly generate a new quote at this point if we see fit, and then we can convert that quote directly into a sales order with just one click. But just for today's purposes, we'll start with a sales order here. As I click on that sales order button, you'll notice the auto-population of some of these fields from the customer record. So because I was on the record of Smith Supplies, the customer will be filled in for me. The terms that are associated with that customer, so we can assign different terms and price levels here, and NetSuite will memorize those as we begin to sell to those customers. So we've memorized all of that information, no need for us to key in those specifics there. And really all we have to do is start to add some color by adding some line items. So we can do this in a few different ways. We have some search functionality that allows you to search your items by vendor or manufacturer, whatever particular item search criteria you may need. In this case, I will just do it by manually adding a line item here for the Samsung Galaxy Note. As I add that line item, we're getting a lot of information pushed back to us from a visibility standpoint. So we can see exactly how many of these items we have available across multiple locations. We also see the price level attached to this customer. So you'll remember that I said Smith Supplies is getting a particular price level, and that's a 10% discount due to their extensive purchase history with us. We can also set expected ship dates on the line item level, and we can also memorize your tax codes for however many tax nexuses you are involved in. So we'll add that line item here. A few other things to note would be something like the promotions tab. So we can attach promotions whether they be from marketing campaigns or whatever other type of promotion information you'd like to include in NetSuite. And we can use those promotion codes, those coupon codes, or those discount rates to go ahead and give this person a special type of discount or promotion against their sales order. And we can tie that all back to marketing so you can see your direct ROI against those promotions and against those campaigns. Then from the shipping tab, we can start to talk about how NetSuite has a native integration with UPS, USPS, and FedEx. Of course, we can accommodate any other shipping carriers that you may be using at this time, but the native integration with UPS, USPS, and FedEx results in two things, and that is real-time shipping rates. So as I have UPS selected here, I can calculate my rates in real time. And the second thing is integrated shipping labels. So as we go through and actually fulfill this order, you'll notice that in just one click, I can generate the UPS shipping label associated with this order. And no need for me to log into a separate system like ups.com and enter those weights, enter those quantities. We can automate that whole process for you and make it much, much more seamless. So let's save this sales order. And as we do that, because the NetSuite solution is providing you with one system to run the entire distribution business, this order will now flow directly into the warehouse for fulfillment in real time. We can put an approval process in place if you need one, whether that be from a quoting standpoint as the sales order is submitted or maybe before invoicing. But what we're doing here is just eliminating many of those manual processes that often take place in this stage, such as walking the order into the warehouse with a piece of paper or even just sending the order via email to the warehouse. We're avoiding that process here, giving everyone the same system to run their business on, so now the warehouse operator will have this order directly on their dashboard. So sales order number 726, we'll just make a note of that, and we'll go through and fulfill this order from the warehouse. So we'll switch roles one more time here. And I'm now in the role of a warehouse operator. So you'll notice that my pre-configured dashboard is extremely tactical from a warehouse standpoint. The tabs across the top there are now centered around areas like inventory or shipping and receiving. So let's take a peek at our Suite View tab, as always, just so we can see from a warehouse perspective what that looks like. And now we're getting information around vendor performance, fill rates, orders shipped percentage, etc. So very, very tactical when we start to talk about NetSuite from a warehouse perspective. Back on our dashboard, just as I said, our warehouse operator is getting all of these reminders, in particular orders to fulfill. So those ones are coming in real time. Always keeping everyone up to date about orders to stay on top of, items they might need to receive in. No need to batch these over in a spreadsheet, tack any orders up on a board. This is all automated and seamless. So what we can do here is we can start to fulfill all of our orders in bulk if we'd like. We can very easily go through, mark all, and maybe print a list and go through and start to fulfill in our warehouse. But just for the purposes of today's demonstration, I'll use that customer Smith Supplies to filter our order. And you'll actually notice that that is directly on the top of our screen. So 726 is the order that we placed just a second ago here. Now, many distributors are using multiple systems just within this pick, pack, and ship process upon fulfillment. So that often creates a disconnected series of tasks that end up having to be completed in a manual fashion. As I said, something like logging into an external system such as ups.com to actually generate those labels. So I'll show you how we can avoid all of that here and streamline the process for you. We can actually go through and generate our pick lists, our packing slips, and our shipping labels directly from NetSuite. In this case, I will just show you the packing slip and the shipping label in the essence of the time that we have today. So if I do a quick save and print, this is a basic version of a NetSuite packing slip. So you can make this look as pretty or customized as you'd see fit, but really what we should take away here is all that information from the order is pulled onto this form directly for us. If we are using things like lot numbers or serial numbers, they will appear in that detail section. And we can even include your return labels here. So we can just throw a return label in the box with the order. If a customer does end up needing to place a return, then they already have that label to ship back. At this point, we can mark our order as shipped. And as we do that, as I said, we can generate that UPS label or whatever shipping carrier it may be in just one more click. So no need for us to log into that ups.com. Maybe you're using a WorldShip system or something similar. We can bring that entire process within NetSuite and save you a lot of time around the pick, pack, and ship fulfillment piece. Now that we've completed fulfillment here, as I've said, we understand that the NetSuite solution is providing one system to manage the business here. So there's no need for us to now go back into another financial system or a billing system to enter this information manually to generate an invoice and accept their payment. We do not have to leave NetSuite at all to complete that process. So one more time, we'll just keep in mind that sales order number 726, and we'll move back into the role of the controller to complete the invoicing process. And now the reminders on our dashboard here probably speak a little louder to us than they did when we saw the controller's dashboard earlier, because we understand that these sales orders to bill are actually coming in throughout the day in real time. So as I drill into that sales orders to bill, you can see right at the top is 726 for Smith Supplies, the order that we just fulfilled a few moments ago. As I drill into the invoice here, we can make sure to validate any of the information against the invoice. If any of the items are changing, or maybe the billing address, or maybe a promotion is being added at the end of this transaction rather than from the sales order, we can make any of our last edits there. We can save the invoice, and then we can extend it to our customer based on their preference. So if we have a customer that prefers their invoices via email, they'll get something that looks like this. Again, you can customize these forms to include whatever fields you see fit here. We can shoot it over via email, fax, or of course you can still print and send invoices through direct mail if you have customers that prefer that. At this point, back on the invoice record, we can now accept forms of payment, whether they be cash, check, a wire transfer, ACH here. Whatever the forms of payment that you accept, we also do support credit card compliance, so we are fully PCI compliant. We're able to keep your customer's credit card information on hand for a quick and easy checkout here. Also good to note that you can apply multiple payments, you can apply a payment to multiple invoices. So down at the bottom of this screen, here are all of the invoices that are outstanding for Smith Supplies, and we can decide to start to apply payments to one or more of those invoices. We then select our payment method. As I mentioned, we do support PCI compliance and a series of other payment methods. For demo purposes today, we'll check out with the use of a check here, and we'll save our payment. Now, this is really the beauty of NetSuite here. Because we are using one integrated system to manage the business, everything is hitting our general ledger in real time. So every transaction that we've placed today has either hit our general ledger as a posting or a non-posting transaction. In this case, because we did accept a payment, of course it's a posting transaction, debiting to our checking account and crediting to our accounts receivable account. Every transaction that you place within NetSuite will hit your books in real time, easing up on the period close process, and of course, helping our finance team to streamline that journal entry posting at the end of the period. Now, the last thing I'd like to show you in the essence of the time that we have today is what we refer to as the customer center. So quickly, I'll just pull up that customer that we've been working with, which is Smith Supplies. And what you'll get out of the box with NetSuite on day one is a self-service customer portal in which your customers will have access to place their own orders, make their own payments, request returns, and beyond. So let me just hop into that portal very quickly, and I'll log in as a customer. Now I'm in the customer portal. You'll notice up at the top here that I'm logged in as a customer of Atlas, which is Smith Supplies here. So just as I mentioned, this is really where your customers have the ability to bypass, calling into the sales team to place orders or to make payments with the finance team, calling in to contact support, maybe to request a return. They can do all of that directly from this portal here. So they can even see their past orders. If I take a look at see orders here, 726, the order that we just placed a moment ago, has been billed. So this customer is getting that visibility as well as the employees that are actually using the NetSuite instance to run the distribution business. So visibility on both sides is really something that is going to become important for those customers, especially in today's fast-paced distribution environment. People expect this. People expect not only the customer satisfaction of getting that visibility into their relationship with the customer or the company, but they also expect this type of ease on the manual workload. They expect to be able to place their own orders and request their own returns without having to pick up the phone or send in a fax. So really, we'll just take a look at the order entry screen here. You'll notice that from a customer standpoint, it does look very similar to the sales order screen that we saw just a few moments ago when we placed a sales order from within NetSuite. So the customer now has the ability to go in, provide any information or change any information that is not already saved there. For example, if they're shipping to a different address than they normally do, they can change any of that information, add in their items and their coupons as we saw before. And then they can even have some custom information in here, like if there's particular delivery instructions, or maybe if they're requesting a particular serial or lot number, the customer will be able to generate that information from the portal as well. Another thing to note would just be this knowledge base and the item information tab that you're seeing across the top here. As I drill into that item information tab, something to note that I did not mention is as these customers are logged in, they'll only see the items and the pricing specific to their login. So you'll remember that Smith Supplies was getting a 10% discount on all of their orders. When they're only going to see the pricing with that 10% discount tacked onto it. So each customer is only seeing that pricing in those items that we would like them to be able to see and purchase. Another thing that's useful is the knowledge base section. So this is often important for maybe companies that have manufacturer's warranties or we're dealing with complicated machinery. We can supply information like manufacturer's information or different payment and pricing policies, maybe warranty information. We can provide this knowledge base to the customers so again, they can access this area first, do their own research before they pick up a phone and start to ask sales reps for information like of manufacturer warranty, etc. So that is a view of the customer center, and we've really just walked through the order to fulfillment to invoicing process within NetSuite using the leading practices from over 4,000 wholesale distribution customers. We took a look at the sales order entry, we did the pick, pack, and ship, we invoiced and we accepted a payment, and we never left the NetSuite solution. Every department here is operating on the same system with a single source of information about their wholesale distribution business. So that is the key takeaway that we should take away from this. Everyone operating on the same system, and everything that we walked through today is what you will get on day one with NetSuite, pre-configured to help you gain a competitive advantage in the wholesale distribution industry. So with that being said, that concludes my portion of the demonstration, and I will turn it back over to Ranga at this point so he can give you a quick summary, and then we will take any questions and answers that may have come in throughout the course of the demo here.
Perfect. Thank you, Jess, and thanks for that great overview of the system and really kind of highlighting some of the pieces that I showed or talked about, actually, I should say, since you were really showing it during my portion of the presentation. So I just really had one slide I wanted to kind of kind of summarize on before jumping into and answering a few questions if folks have questions. And that really is about the benefits that we've seen from our customers. And I think this is really the important thing, which is we can talk to you about all of these different elements that can improve your business. We can talk to you about what you can get, through each of the phases. We can talk to you about these different pieces of functionality. But ultimately, it comes down to what benefit does that come to your business. And I think in these results that you're seeing, this slide is a collection of benefits that are collected from a series of interviews we did with our customers. It was done by a third-party study with SL Associates, and there is actually a white paper that goes into much more detail about this if you're interested. But in each of the areas, whether it's financial management, we've seen significant improvements in areas of gross margin performance and collection time or accounting staff productivity, or customer management or inventory management, where we've seen significant improvements in terms of inventory costs, fulfillment rates and back orders, obsolete inventory carrying cost. And then, of course, IT management, where we've seen people be able to reduce their IT support resource costs, and, of course, things like business continuity and disaster recovery, where they've had to pay for those things, and now we've been able to reduce those costs with NetSuite. I think the big thing I want to make sure I summarize and bring across to you is customers have been able to realize real benefits from NetSuite. It's not just putting in a system just for the sake of putting in a system. They've been able to put in that solid foundation that they can then build on and build upon for becoming that disruptive distributor. And that's really that pathway to success, that wholesale distribution evolution that I talked about, and hopefully that gave you a good perspective of that. Now, of course, Jess just really kind of scratched the surface in terms of the demonstration and showcasing some of the functionality and some of the different processes that we offer and are available to you. Of course, we'd be happy to have more of a detailed conversation with you and show things that are relevant, specific to your business. But, of course, we can follow up with you afterwards to talk about that. So with that, what I want to do is just take a few minutes to go ahead and answer any questions that people have about the system, anything that we've shown, anything about the functionality, things like that, and just take a few minutes to answer that. So if you do have questions, just write those into the Q&A tab, and we'll answer those now. So one of the first questions comes in about EDI, and do we support EDI? And we do have a number of EDI partners that we partner with that for EDI, and some customers using SPS Commerce, B2B Gateway, TrueCommerce as different systems that people can leverage for EDI. So we definitely have partners around EDI, and that is something that is definitely something that we support. The next question comes around being able to demonstrate the system, how you can handle lot and expiration dates. And that's something we can definitely follow up with you and show you on a more one-on-one basis and be able to walk through that particular demonstration, but I do want to at least address that. And then the other question comes more specific again to the pharma industry, and those are questions that we'll definitely follow up with you more directly one-on-one and talk about what your requirements are, and then of course make sure we can address those. Another question comes in, and I'll ask this question and then genericize it slightly to what I've heard from other customers, is does the system support a 3PL environment where 3PL is supporting multiple clients, inventory segregation, and et cetera? And I'll answer this question two ways. One is, do we have 3PL customers that are leveraging NetSuite? And the short answer is yes. We do have customers that are leveraging NetSuite, and they are a 3PL today, and that's how they leverage NetSuite. Depending on what some of our customers are leveraging different aspects of the functionality, but we do absolutely have customers in that space, and they're leveraging it. The other question I do often get asked is, we don't have our own warehouse. We leverage a 3PL for all of our warehousing requirements. And in that scenario as well, we definitely have customers that are in that environment and leverage NetSuite for that and have integration with their individual 3PLs. In many cases, multiple 3PLs, as the case might be, to support their warehouse and fulfillment requirements. And the next question comes in around, do we provide barcoding and scanner integration? And as I mentioned earlier, and I didn't go into great detail about it, short answer is yes. We absolutely do support this. And as we look at the stairways, this is actually one of the things that we think about when you put in that foundation, and then you can build upon it as you're talking about supply chain optimization, do barcoding, or if you're talking about a much more advanced warehouse where you want to automate that warehouse, we can support that as well as a requirement further on up the stairway in the evolution. So I think we have time for one or two more questions if there are any of those questions that folks have. And then obviously, like I mentioned, we'd be happy to answer questions offline or directly as it makes sense. Another great question comes around, can you support multiple warehouse locations? And this is a great question. We also, the multi-location inventory is a key aspect of NetSuite and something I see in almost a majority of our distribution clients. It's amazing to me is that in 5 years, even the smallest of clients has multiple locations that they are leveraging in terms of inventory, and NetSuite absolutely supports that out of the box as a key aspect of what we deliver, and something that many of our reference customers reference and talk about as one of the key reasons that they've found value in the NetSuite solution. So then I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the webinar. There's some more questions still coming through. I'll be glad to follow up with you offline and answer those directly and try to be able to go dive in a little bit more detail on some of the questions that you're asking. So with that, I want to thank everyone again for making time for today's webinar, especially on St. Patrick's Day. Hopefully you're somewhere that you get to enjoy that and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks again for attending today. The webinar has been recorded, and a link will be sent out to you with the recording if you have any specific questions, and of course if you wanted to see the webinar. So thanks again for all of you for making time, and looking forward to speaking to you in the future. Thank you.